Hi guys, welcome to Eye on the Storm. Sorry for that slight delay. We are live and ready. We have an awesome guest and an awesome topic for you this week. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Anna Prosser Robinson. This is my co-host Gillyweed.
Hi guys, how are you doing? I hope it's well. We are Eye on the Storm. This is a show that we designed so that we could learn more about Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's new hero brawler. It's in beta right now, closed beta, and we really wanted to learn more about the show or about the game so that we could eventually become casters for it. And we thought, why not make a show where other people can learn about the game too? And so we're sharing our journey with you. And of course, we are on the awesome channel Misscliks.
Yeah, Misscliks is a community and website and live stream channel where the voices of female role models in geek and gaming culture are supported and uplifted. So we are part of that Misscliks family. We're really thankful to them, so please do check them out and give them some love. And another person that you should give some love is our guest this week, who's right there. It's Arthelon. Arthelon, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, how you came to be involved in Heroes.
My name is Taylor Arthelon Eater. I was a former League player, but I got burnt out on it, so I switched to Heroes, which is awesome and fun. For about, I formed the team Symbio Gaming with my teammates KO and Dread, and eventually we had Soldier and Clarang join us. We've been a team for about 7-8 months, competing in the NA tournament life, and recently we got picked up by Tempo Storm. And now I'm here talking with these two lovely ladies.
How's that Tempo Storm life?
Yeah, congrats on that.
We haven't done too much with it. The main thing we have been, we finally got our house. We all signed the lease, and we're all gonna be moving in there.
Oh, a gaming house, really? Cool.
It's gonna be in Arizona.
I've done that. I have lived in a gaming house in Arizona before.
Yeah, we copied you, you know. It's good plan. It worked out before. Clarang and Dread, I think, are moving in like a few days, and then the rest of us will move about a month later, I think.
Cool.
It's exciting stuff.
Are you from Arizona originally? Are you nervous to move states?
I did it before in League, actually. I moved out for about 6 months, and it wasn't the best of times, but it was still really fun. So I'm super pumped to do this now.
That's great.
So yeah, I moved state, and then I was in California, and now I was in Arizona, so it's basically in the same place, but not really.
Well,
That's
congrats!
really cool.
That's really cool. That's so awesome. I did not know you guys were doing that. It's happening, guys. Heroes is happening.
Yeah, I actually was just talking to someone today who was doing some research on esports and was asking me if I thought that the team house model was viable and helpful. Or whether it was just something that people kind of did because they thought it would be helpful. So I'm interested, why did you guys choose to go ahead and move into a team house together as opposed to living on your own and playing together online?
It's always been a goal of ours. You know, we've dropped everything, like our jobs, and a couple of people are in college and they dropped that. So it's like, well, if you're gonna go all in, and just, you know, moving into a team house, it helps. You have to have the right mindset. You know, you can't just move in and be like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be awesome. You have to put in work for it, and yeah, we're really happy that Tempo Storm is allowing us to do this, and I'm actually really surprised it's happening this early. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's pretty crazy.
Good for you guys. Well, actually, that's really cool because the first thing that we do on this show is usually have a little discussion of what's going on in the community, some of the interesting issues that we're facing as we're in the closed beta right now, or just things that are cool that are going on within our community. We also have a community spotlight later that's for special cool created things that the community has done. But right now, we just kind of wanted to talk about the tournament scene as it's evolving here in closed beta. And again, we always kind of want to emphasize that on this show. This is the closed beta of this game. This is not in release yet. So a lot of the expectations we have for the game tend to get inflated because it is so ready already. But I was in a conversation with a lot of Heroes community members this week who were kind of complaining about the way tournaments have been run, or saying that maybe they could be done better, or some of them were saying, no, for beta, this is an amazing tournament scene. So Arthelon, we kind of wanted to get your point of view on some of the tournaments that you've been involved in, or the way that your team feels about tournaments so far, and maybe just for the sake of positivity, some ideas for what might make the tournament scene grow even better in the future.
I mean, for us, it's like, oh, there's a tournament. We're going to get in there. We're going to compete. We're going to try to get first place. So we haven't really been. I don't really have any complaints about the tournaments. You know, some of them are really long, but that's even better because then I get to compete longer. So I think the tournament organizers themselves have been trying a lot of things, and they've been really responsive to feedback. And you know, I think they've done a really good job of trying to see what works and trying to see what's best for the tournament scene. And obviously things can get better, but you know, this is the time where you test things and you really just see what's best. So I personally don't have any complaints, but I know people kind of drag about how long the tournaments are sometimes.
Is that mainly where the issue comes in, is with length? Have you heard any other maybe thoughts on where could improve maybe from other people as you've been competing with them?
There's also like start times. You know, sometimes the tournament starts really early, and us gamers, you know, we like to sleep in. So people complain about that. Best of threes, best of ones are always a hot topic, because if you have everything best of three, it's like the most fair, but it does take a really long time. But if you have best of one, it makes it much quicker. But sometimes teams are like, well, we just got cheesed, so now we can't even play the rest of the tournament.
I mean, at least the best of three isn't, you know, league time, which could go a bit longer. So Heroes games tend to be usually shorter. But that's true. I could see that as far as the start times. I wonder how people choose in other esports, especially when you've got people coming from all around the world, how times are chosen, if they just go with certain times when people are going to be awake and watching, and then everyone has to adjust their sleep schedules since they're going to have to anyway. Or I don't know. Anna, you probably have some good information on that.
Well, it's also interesting too because of where we are in Heroes, there's not too many people that make Heroes their full-time profession, because it's in beta right now. So it's just now starting to be a kind of thing where someone could say, I'm going to spend my full-time job running a Heroes tournament or something like that. So it's also subject to the tournament organizer's schedule, people who are working on the tournament. You know, they can't necessarily just have it whenever they want. It may have to be after work or on their lunch hour or whatever it is. So we have to be sensitive to that as well. And even if that's not what's happening, I think you're right, JC. It's like a kind of, you can't make everybody happy kind of situation. Because you have to think about when you're going to get the most viewers, when the most of your demographic is going to be awake, whether that's in Europe or NA or Asia, you know, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, you have the player preferences, because if the players don't want to be awake to play in your tournament, then you're not going to have anyone playing. And gamer schedule is really strange. You know, I would say most esports companies even, and especially gamers, don't really start the day till 10 or 11 a.m., which is abnormal for the typical work world.
Really?
Yeah, and that's being generous, you know, like when I lived in a team house, the day started at about noon, and that was still like I had to get some people out of bed, you know. So I think that talking about start times is definitely important, and kind of negotiating and having a dialogue between the teams and the tournament organizers is really important. And I think I see that happening. What do you think, Arthelon? Do you feel like your team has pretty good access to the people in charge of the things that you're interacting with?
Us personally, yeah, we talked to Steve, who's like the big daddy tournament organizer. He's like behind almost everything that's going on right now. We talk to him all the time. And yeah, we give him our feedback, and he usually talks about what other people are saying, so we get a pretty good consensus of like what everyone's thinking. We definitely, yeah, we just talk to Steve all the time, so.
Yeah, it's really cool. I see a lot of open dialogue, which I hope continues to be characteristic of our community. Do you think so, JC?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one great thing about this community is everyone likes to talk to each other generally, and there's, you know, friendliness, and even in streaming, people host each other all the time, and I think that it's a really good community that we're developing as far as trying to keep it open and everyone talking and trying to get together in Skype groups or meetups at BlizzCon, that type of thing. So I have good hopes for where it's going so far.
Yeah, me too. So guys, if you are watching and you have really passionate opinions about the tournament scene as it's developing, please do let us know. Tweet at us with the hashtag Storm Show. We're really interested to hear what you think, and that helps inform our opinions that we talk about on this show. So really would love to hear that. And then of course, don't forget there's the Heroes of the Storm subreddit where the Heroes devs are really looking for feedback. So I'm sure that that would help as well. And the tournament organizers hang out there too. We've had some really cool tournaments. I know Arthelon, you said that you guys competed for ESL recently in the EU tournament. How did that go?
Oh, it went amazing. It surpassed like any of our expectations. Just the general like community response to it was absolutely fantastic. We signed up for EU and we had to wake up at like 7 a.m. to
so early for
start
gamers.
off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like beyond the realm of possibility usually. We made it all the way to the finals where we faced 3D Max, and that was a really good series. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it on Caldor's channel. Especially Game 3 was intense. We faced basically almost all the top EU teams, and we learned a lot from them. I think they learned from us, and I think the community really grew as a whole because of it, in the good way.
That's awesome. Did you have any trouble like playing on the EU server like from here very much, or were you okay?
Yeah, usually the ping is like 130 plus, which it's not that big of a deal, but it does affect your like reaction times. It makes it really hard to like dodge skill shots and things like that. Overall, it wasn't that big of a hindrance, but it is there. And you know, like if I'm playing Vala, it was really hard for me to vault out of anything.
Okay. So, you know, to get to second and be dealing with that is, you know, really awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And JC and I, of course, were involved in the Heroes Hype Amateur Series, which was really fun. JC casted this last week on Wednesday, so yesterday.
and into 2 a.m. today.
Oh,
so,
geez.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you were on later than I was. When I did mine, I was only till like midnight, I think. But I was the previous Wednesday. We had a great time, so thanks to Miss Honey from Heroes Hype for inviting us. That was our first our casting dream come to fruition for a very, you know, long form tournament casting thing. So that was really cool. If you missed those, there's VOD, so go check them out. And then another mention I wanted to make, Arthelon, you were talking about Kings of the Storm. How has that one been for you?
Okay, that was like one of the longest Kings I think we've ever had. And they moved the start time back 2 hours, so we were playing pretty late. Let's see. Yeah, we played Maelstrom for like the majority of it. And we had to win 2 best-of-3s to win the whole thing. And that dragged out to 5 games, I think, out of 6 games total.
Wow.
So I think it lasted till like 2 a.m. And then we had to wake up early for the EU right after that, so it was pretty crazy.
Oh.
That hardcore lifestyle. I love it.
Right?
Yeah. But we definitely fought hard to win that. Maelstrom was definitely bringing their A game.
That's
What
great.
do you do? Do you drink caffeine, or does it make you jittery? How do you wake up when you have to do that?
What did I do? I think I had like 2 liters readily available for that day. And then for the EU, all I had was a cup of coffee, and then I was good to go for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I can't do too much of the caffeine thing, or I just spaz and can't pay attention to the game. Doesn't work for me. But speaking of in-game, if we have talked enough about kind of our community discussion, which has been great, and again, guys, feel free to let us know your opinions with the hashtag Storm Show. Let's move on to the topic of the day, which is dual support meta, which is something that's kind of been flooding around the edges of the casual scene and definitely been a huge deal in the professional scene. So let's move into that.
Yes. So why don't we start with kind of just dual support meta? Like, how did it evolve into being such a big thing in the scene right now?
Yeah, and maybe if somebody is like, a lot of our viewers are just joining us and just learning about Heroes of the Storm, so they may not be too familiar with why dual support meta is even of note. So maybe in basic terms, what does dual support meta mean, Arthelon?
So basically you have 2 characters on your team that are supports, and usually they have pretty good healing abilities. The major 3 are Malf, Malfurion, Rhaegar, and Uther. And then sometimes you can throw out Lily or Brightwing in there, although they're not too common. And Tyrande another one, but I don't count Tyrande as like a full support. So that's what usually what the strategy is like the other team just doesn't have enough damage to kill you in a team fight, and you just out heal them and out-sustain them through a fight.
All right. What were kind of the things that happened that helped it evolve into into being so big in the scene? Was it like patches or some strat that people found?
Over time, double support was really popular back in like really early alpha, and then it slowly dwindled off. But over time, it became popular again because they started nerfing the damage of like all the high damage heroes like Vala and Tassadar, and most notably Nova. When Nova was gone, it was like, wow, we're not getting one shot anymore. We can do a lot of things now. And then at the same time is like people figured out how good health values are in heroes. You know, there's no mitigation, there's no really crits, there's not a lot of burst damage, and usually the healing values for heroes are greater than that of damage. Take, for example, like Uther's Wave of Light ability. It damages and heals, but the healing value is like almost double of what it damages. So usually the healing abilities are just really stronger than the damage abilities in this game, and that's why double support is pretty good.
And why didn't it work before this last patch? What was the big change that kind of was the catalyst that made it come back?
It was pretty popular. I think it's been popular for about 3 patches. I think we were doing it 2 patches ago near the end of it, and then there was another patch and it was still strong. I think the main reason is Malfurion. He's like, I call him the king of double support. Because he just heals so much, and it's like he has burst healing, he has sustained healing, and he has AoE healing. So it's like he brings the whole package, and he actually dishes out pretty good damage with Moonfire and brings a lot of utility with Entangling Roots. So if you have Malfurion on your team, and Innervate as well, like if you're going through a sustained fight, most likely you're going to go but with Innervate you can keep up whatever hero you need with mana. And then I think the other popular combo is Rhaegar Uther, and what they do is not so much healing, but they're really aggressive. They have so much engage and like damage on their own that you can knock somebody out on the other team, and then you win from there because it's a 4 versus 5.
Cool. So it just kind of happened, I guess, as you guys were playing. It was more of sort of a discovery type thing versus a patch making it so. Yeah,
we didn't sit down and say double healer is strong.
Okay.
We were playing Tyrande a lot with Arthas and Kerrigan, and then they nerfed Arthas and Kerrigan, so we stopped playing that. But we realized that Malf basically did what Tyrande did, but he like brought so much more healing to the table that it was insane. So we just started running Malf with Uther and like Malf with Rhaegar, and it's a really strong strategy.
Do you think that because Blizzard is definitely designing this game in such a way that they're saying, you know, this is not a MOBA, you should not expect to be, you know, stuck to a lane or stuck to a role. You should not expect that team comps will always be the same, those kinds of things. Do you think that they built this game with dual support in mind, or do you think this is something that they're going to try to fix because they would want you to only have one support on a team? Do you think that it's intentional that this is working right now?
I wouldn't say it's intentional. They definitely do have a goal of making playing support really impactful and actually feel good compared to other games. And I think they've done a really great job with that, and I actually really enjoy that because, you know, when you play a support in other games, you're just like, man, I'm not doing much. I'm just going to buy a bunch of wards so I can get vision. That's it. My hero's not actually doing much. But with Heroes of the Storm, you know, you can change fights. You can 1v1 people with some supports. So they're really powerful, and I think the fact that you can have 2 of them brings pretty unique strategies, and actually it's really fun. Even though it kind of makes for boring spectating, because, you know, sometimes you just have these like 2-minute long fights that just never end.
Here's some health. Here's some health. Here's some health.
Yeah, I discovered that when casting. Last time, I'd be like, okay, and I'm still talking, and I'm still talking. What's happening?
Kill somebody! Come on!
Somebody die!
And he's gonna almost no.
Yeah, I was constantly like, he's almost gonna die. It looks like he's actually going to run away, and so we're gonna continue this.
Yeah. Well, in the competitive scene, how common is dual support meta? Would you say that you're facing it a lot, or, you know, a small part of the time? Who's using it? Where will we see it?
I think it's becoming a little bit less popular throughout like this week, but usually it's like there's like a 60% chance you're gonna see it maybe a 70% chance, at least on one team. Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was like a lot of people were doing double support against each other, and that was pretty fruity, I guess is the word for that, because there's not a lot of damage going out, but there's two healers. I think people have developed good strategies against it, and that's why it's kind of dying down a little bit. But I think, like I said, I think Malfurion is the king of double support. So I think if you're going to see double support, it's going to be with Malfurion. So if you can deny not Malfurion from the other team, they most likely will not run double support.
That's what I was going to ask is, for those people who are maybe seeing it come up in Hero League or whatever, what strategies have people come up with to sort of negate the dual support?
There's really aggressive comps, and there's also you get like a really engage heavy comp that you can wipe out like one of the supports or just one person, and you have so much burst damage that they can't heal through it. And usually the hero revolving around that is Sonya or Barbarian, because you can leap in and everyone says, "Oh my God, she leaped in, let's go kill him," and then that person's dead because there's just not enough healing to do in that like 1 second or 2 second burst to keep that person up. And that's been the main strategy. And then Uther is actually really good because he can lock down a target for 2.5 seconds, and he kind of does the same thing as Barbarian does.
Okay.
And Uther actually, he counters the hard engage comps too because he has cleanse. So it's like if you have Uther, you're gonna have a really aggressive comp, and he counters double support because he actually does a lot of damage with his Divine Storm, and that can usually kill somebody. So yeah, the main strategy if you face double support is like you want to burst somebody down so that they can't get healed at all.
So it's a focus on being able to do things quickly, like do a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's like the only way you're going to be able to kill somebody.
So if somebody is a non-competitive player, a non-pro player who's playing in, let's say, Hero League or even just in quick matches, what kind of players or teams would really like dual support meta? And do you think it's even worth trying in a more casual scene?
I think it really depends. Like, you know, usually in the casual scene, people are really aggressive and they don't have that great of positioning. And I think double support really relies on positioning because if you get out of range of your supports and they can't heal you, you're gonna just end up dying. So you have to really keep that in mind if you're gonna be running that in like the casual scene or like if you want to do it in Hero League. Just be really mindful of your positioning.
Okay, so the players who feel like they have practiced enough that they really have a good sense of positioning to where it's almost second nature, then that would be someone who might maybe want to try out dual support. But if they don't have a good sense of positioning, they should stick with more standard gameplay?
Yeah, I think so. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense to me. I guess then moving on to if I were going to try it, if I did feel like this was something I wanted to do, you did mention a few of the good heroes and comps, but if you were going to talk somebody through like, okay, this is your first time trying dual support meta, what would you advise that they do? Where should they start?
I think most importantly is you want to make sure you have enough damage overall. So you want to have 2 really good ranged heroes, like Vala or Nazebo, or even Tassadar, because at that point you have 3 supports. But Tassadar really complements it because he can protect against like burst damage. Hammer is really good because she's really good in a long fight. Any other damages? Tychus is pretty good. So you want to make sure you have enough damage, and then most importantly, you want to have a good frontliner like ETC or Stitches that can, you know, take hits, but also you can heal them up and they won't die because they have really good disruption or like really high health pulls.
Okay.
So usually you want 1 tank and like 2 pretty good damages if they're range or melee.
Okay.
Like Illidan works too because he does a lot of damage, and with Metamorphosis he has enough health that you can heal him up.
I've seen a lot of those guys lately.
Yeah, Illidan is pretty strong right now for sure.
You also mentioned, you know, thinking about denying the team certain heroes, denying them Malfurion, that kind of stuff. If you're planning on running dual support, when you're drafting, what should you be thinking about what you're revealing to the other team so that they won't counter you effectively?
I think picking 1 really good support right off the bat is important because then you're not going to be running 2 bad supports. Like Uther is really good. He's really flexible. Rhaegar as well. And then I think later in the draft you can pick Malfurion because he complements both of them.
Gotcha. And
so
then
you
if
don't want to lock yourself down to 2 supports and then like You want to lock yourself in with a good tank and then like a good damage, and then I think you can start picking your supports.
I see. So it would be if I started out with Uther or with Rhaegar, and then I wasn't able to get Malfurion, then that would be okay, and then I would adapt from there.
Yeah, I think it's either Uther or Rhaegar, or like Malf and somebody else. I think those three are basically the strongest.
Okay.
Brightwing and Lily work too, but they're pretty weird and like you really have to know what you're doing with Brightwing and Lily if you're gonna pull that off.
Sorry, I was trying to talk, but my mic was muted.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was like talking. I was like, why is Anna talking over me?
Sorry.
No problem. So you were saying, like, if you were gonna go in order to try to get your tank in a ranged damage first, and then like pick your first support.
Yeah.
Or you could do. Is there like a different order? Or is that typically what you guys try to do?
What we've been doing has been switching a lot, so I don't even know.
Oh, okay.
But you want to make sure that, like, if you're running double support, you don't want to be locked down to, like, a bad damage or a bad tank just because you're running that strategy. Because then I think it's not really worth it.
All right, so guys, don't go into Hero League and immediately pick your 2 supports, because then you might be up a creek.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Do you, I guess, any final thoughts? Do you have any other questions about it, Anna? About like running dual support or anything like that?
No.
We have some questions, but not about this topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, if you do tweet us questions with that hashtag, we will try to ask them. But I don't see too many about dual support, so I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining it. And we are going to have a play session coming up. And Arthelon, you're going to play Toronto, right? Awesome.
Yeah, should be fun.
So we're going to see a build for Toronto. We're going to talk a little bit about Toronto. We can talk about this dual support meta as well. And we can ask any of your questions during the play session that's coming up. So be sure to tweet us if you have any questions. The stream, as usual, will go down for just a second while we switch up overlays and get everyone set up for our play session. But then we'll be back to talk more and play a game before we close the show. Anything to say before we leave, guys, or are we good?
It's been fun so far.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And guys, we'll be right back.